First, let me greet you, Fatu. Thanks for the opportunity, and also good afternoon to members of the media. Of course, it's a small advantage, but it's an advantage that we worked very, very hard for to get, but it means nothing if you don't pitch for the second half, and we see the next 90 minutes as the second half, and we want to try to win every match at Mamelodi Sundowns, and regardless of whatever advantage or disadvantage we may have had the score stayed 1-0 and we had not found the equalizer, I would say the same thing, that the attitude and the mentality would be to win. Had the score been different in terms of us maybe going into this game with a lead, I would say the same thing, to say we would try to win this game, and so that is our mentality. At Sundowns we try to win every single match, and we'll try to win the game on Saturday, even though it's going to be very, very difficult because contrary to what the results suggest, we're playing against a very good side and a very improved Kaizer Chiefs team.
Coach, first question. Okay, let's start. Benjamin, you remember?
Coach.
Hi, Benji.
How are you, Coach?
Fine.
Coach, I don't know if I'll be putting extra pressure on you or what, but since you took over as head coach and mainly this season, you are the only team mainly this season that has not lost a game. And going into this game against Kaizer Chiefs, that put pressure on you with the players as well to say we have to maintain breaking records and making new ones.
No. Pressure is on. I think pressure is on society as to how are we going to deal with this revolution of artificial intelligence, because that's going to come with a lot of job losses, and it's going to revolutionize the way human species live and operate. I think that's the biggest pressure we have. It's even bigger than global warming if there was another pressure. So we have to focus on football. We are privileged that we are involved in a game and a sport that we all love, and that God has blessed us with the opportunity to use to make millions of people happy, and ours is to try to continue to make not only the Mamelodi Sundowns supporters happy, but the football fraternity happy, because I think what we try to do is try to serve the game of football, and if maybe you're not as privileged as I am in that sense, but if you understand the enormity, if there is such a word, of the reach in relation to the appreciation of the game that we play and the things that we try to do on the football pitch, the emails, the messages I'm receiving from top coaches from Europe about how they admire and even in a way copy some of the things that we are doing, for me, that already signifies the magnitude of the blessing that we have, and for sure, as they say, blessings and burdens are cousins. So the blessing of that comes with, of course, the burden of having to maintain that, having to keep our feet firmly on the ground and stay focused and continue to improve and to be better.
To Coach Vuyo, Newsroom Africa.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon, Vuyo.
I just want to get a diagnosis on the player, Coach, in terms of what you had firstly wanted to do with him, and the impact that you are seeing with him, Mokwena. I mean, past 2 matches in the MTN 8, especially fitting him in crucial times of the matches. Maybe in the Kaizer Chiefs match at times where you put him as a player and 90 him as one of the players that you want him to change the game around. At that young age, in terms of what you want to do to your player, what is the diagnosis that you are seeing from him? Is the impact very possible in terms of his attitude?
He's immensely talented, and again, that is just it's genetic. You are born with it, and I personally understand, because the people that were born before me in my family line took all the talent and left me with very little for the pitch. And so when I see someone who is immensely talented, there is a deep sense of appreciation, and Siyabonga Mabena happens to be one of those. He is extremely privileged that he gets to play at a very young age, and at an age that is so critical for the development of youngsters, that he gets to play and be around in a change room that is, number one, full of a lot of champions and people with a very good mentality, professional, and not only look after the talent, but they teach him how to look after their careers, and that is something that's going to be very important for his future. So we speak about those first 2 things. The third thing, I think he also has a very incredible privilege of being around extremely talented players that play in and around his position, and so he gets the chance to train with players like Tembazwane, for an example, Sipho Mbule, Marcelo Allende, Neo Maema, and so for sure he gets to learn. We all have what we call mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are, if you spend a lot of time with me, you start picking up my gestures, my behaviors, even subconsciously. You start doing things that I do, and that is going to happen with Mabena for sure. And hopefully, he starts to pick up the good habits from some of the top players that he is surrounded by. You know, he is surrounded by a Peter Shalulile. I mean, he's surrounded by Lucas Ribeiro. And so that's another positive for him. I always plead for a lot of patience with youngsters in South African football. I've seen a lot of youngsters being hyped and praised and amount to not the same level of the potential that they have. And only because maybe there's a saying that I read once a couple of years ago about the curse of the rising star, is that when the shooting star, they say when you see a shooting star, you say a prayer or a blessing, and you ask for something before it disappears. And sometimes that's what happens, is we see the shining star and we marvel at it so much, and then all of a sudden it disappears. And that's the danger. You know, we are a country that has immensely talented individuals, but at times we destroy them by over publicizing them and even exerting even more pressure, because already there's pressure from a societal perspective where, whether we like it or not, there's black tax, and there's the pressure to feed more than just one family and one household. There's the expectation that already when he plays for Mamelodi Sundowns, he earns a certain salary. Then now there's now expectations for him to live in a better house and to buy a better car and to wear better shoes and more expensive clothes, and then of course there's also the friends, and then now comes the pressure that is exerted by what many of the previous generation didn't have, and the pressure that comes from social media. And social media in trying to express a certain lifestyle that may not necessarily be within the means of where the level is in relation to the contract and where the player is. So mine is always to say to you, and it's quite different, the challenges of Pedri, for an example, at Barcelona are completely different to the challenges of Mabena. They may be the same age, but the challenges are very, very different. And that is why it's so difficult for wonder kids, just generally, wonder kids in South African football to rise up and shine and blossom. In fact, you've got to really be like that flower that grows through concrete. You've really got to push through and show a lot of sacrifice and discipline to get to that level. And hopefully we can assist Mabena in that space, because it's not only about just the qualities that you possess as a football player and the potential that you potentially have in relation to what you can fulfill, but more than just that, it is the human qualities and the development of the qualities around, so that it's easier for you to manage your career and not just necessarily manage the talent.
All right, let's move on to my left-hand side. I've noted you. Kamu, I think there was another hand of Tanzania.
Afternoon, Coach.
Afternoon, Kamu. I can see you now.
Coach, in a season, each team plays the same team twice, first leg and second leg. But now, Mamelodi Sundowns gets to play Kaizer Chiefs 4 times. But in these 3 weeks now, in these 3-4 weeks, you're playing Kaizer Chiefs for a third time. So now, the trickiness of playing the same team in this short space of time, how is it, Coach?
Yeah, so it's a football fixture that we have to deal with. It's nothing new. So many have dealt with it and done very well, and so we've just got to try our level best to deal with the situation. We faced a similar situation last season with Pirates, if you remember. Within a short space of time, and also within one season, we played, I think, 4 games against each other. And so, yeah, we relish the opportunity, and we relish the test that it will bring to us, and we'll do our best to win the game on Saturday.
Okay, Kinsani.
Thanks for you.
Sure, Kins.
Before the game yesterday, you said to your team you want them to believe less. You want them to leave things to no chance. And the Rhulani Mokwena's post-match interview with SABC Sport, he said we need more games like this. These games will even help us to Champions League. And there's one press conference where you spoke about the intangibles. And what the boss said last night, do you think what you need right now is the intangibles to tick the boxes that maybe you might have not ticked last season?
100%. We are in a space where we have to get better. We have to improve. But the thing about that is we are trying to improve things that may not necessarily be attributes that some of our football players as human beings are born with, number one, and number two, maybe society based on the environments that they've grown up in have not influenced them to have. And so you're trying, but are very necessary to be successful athletes. And if you go, and I always say, success has the same clues, and you can go into any sport, any sport, maybe even any space where you speak of people who succeed within that area. You can go into music, Beyonce. I mean, you listen to Jay-Z saying, there are weeks where I don't see my wife I don't even know where she sleeps. And she's in the studio. I don't know what she eats. I don't know where she sleeps. And there's a dedication to the craft. You go to Tiger Woods, there's a dedication to the craft. The Serena, the Williams sisters. There's a movie I watched when we were going to one of the Champions League games. I watched it because I really very seldom watch movies. I can't even remember the name of the movie, but it was about the father and how he got his daughters to be dedicated to the craft. You can go into any space. There's a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza who's a neuroscientist. Is someone that I'm really following a lot now, and he speaks about how important the mind is and how you can generate the mind to assist you in terms of bringing certain things into reality. And that's a consistent feature in some of the most successful people in the world. You talk about Dr. Patrice Motsepe as an example. You talk about many Warren Buffett. These are people that had a certain mentality and maybe even a borderline obsession in relation to that. And these are the things that I'm trying to inculcate into the players, and those are things that you can't put time frames on, or you also cannot measure. But they are necessary for us to get to the next level, and the demands, the expectations put us in that position where we have to. We don't have any other choice. Kobe Bryant and the Mamba mentality, I was another one that is obsession. And the number one rule of the Mamba, I only found this out only recently, and I was sharing it with the players in the movie. Where he got this Mamba mentality thing was from the movie Kill Bill, I think. And this guy is, I just saw the clip, this guy is opening a suitcase and he's counting the money. And then all of a sudden, this black Mamba comes out and relentlessly goes, attacks this guy in the face maybe 3, 4, 5 times. And Kobe says, that's what gave birth to Mamba mentality, is that to be successful, you've got to be relentless and relentless and relentless and relentless. And the number one law in the Mamba mentality is obsession is not an option. That's number one. And so this is the things that we are trying to do.
Thank you, Coach. Let's move on to Mazola. Tumi, can we get one more bottle of water for Coach?
Yeah, I drink lots of water.
While Brasipo sorts out his phone.
What I do with Sundowns players in a meeting when the phone goes off is that I tell them to buy school shoes and donate a pair of school shoes to any school. They have to go to the school and they have to find a child who's got shoes that are worn out and with holes in them, and they've got to get the size and they've got to donate. So
Brasipo, please.
Brasipo, we add you onto that list. School shoes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, Coach. Mazola.
Thanks, Coach.
Show Mazola.
Prior to the FIFA break, you said you had asked the sporting director for one more.
Yeah.
Pending the injuries.
Yeah.
Yesterday, it looked like the majority were back.
Yeah.
Has your request changed, given that the window closes tomorrow? Just your opinion on the window. I think the second successive season, the window drags all the way to closer to the end of September. Is that disruptive for coaches, or we prefer to have more time to add?
Yeah. I to be honest, on the first one, that, as I said even before, the club knows my opinion on it, and I have said that it was only necessitated by the injuries in the positions that we had up front. and then those discussions were elevated to that level. But I would like to leave it there because that is the sporting director space, and of course the things have to make sense, not just from a football perspective. There are things we all want in life, but sometimes we don't always get, and also it's about the availability, is about so many other things, but that is the space that I'd love to leave to the club and the sporting director. So not too much from my side. We'll see what the window brings tomorrow. Do I like games being played and the transfer window being open? To be honest, no. And I tell the players also. I tell the players that really my feeling is the season only really starts when the transfer window closes. And especially for the big clubs. Because number one, whenever you play some of the teams, there is an artificial level of motivation that is within some of the players in the teams, where they also advertise themselves and they say, hey, while the window is open, if I put in a very, very good performance against Sundowns, there is a possibility that I may be transferred. And so sometimes when Sundowns plays some of these teams, there's an incredible motivation that is artificialized, that you may not necessarily get when the window is closed, when the people know that the window is closed, so there is no chance of me moving, and I have to be at my club giving the best that I can for my club, and without any extra levels of extrinsic motivation. And that makes our games very, very difficult during the transfer window. And then also within your own squad, you've got players who don't always train so well because they are also looking and saying, oh, if the coach doesn't play me, then I speak to my agent and I ask my agent if maybe I can move to Club A or Club B and Club C. But when the window is closed, they know that I am here up until the next window. And so I've either got to fight for my place and give the best that I can, or I sit outside and I don't play. And so instead of them having another option, which is sometimes the easy way out, they have only one option. And tomorrow, once the window is closed, they know I will tell them that I am very happy that it is closed, because now everybody who is here. And everybody who is here has a responsibility not only to be competing for a position, but to help each other to get better. And that's just my perspective when it comes to the transfer window.
Okay, let's move on. Is it Rhulani from the SABC there? Thank you.
Coach, before the first leg.
Sure. Hi, Lonabo.
Hi, Coach. Before the first leg, it was thought to be a textbook battle between you and Coach Rhulani. And we saw him employ a more defensive approach, and the jury's out as to if that worked or not, since you enjoyed that advantage. How much of that first leg and its events have you employed going to the second leg?
Interesting question. I watched just by mere football, being a football lover, I watched the Royal AM game. I watched also last night. I watched their game against SuperSport again, just by chance, because I didn't have enough sleep. So I watched our game, and then I happened to watch their game that was played also on TV. And I saw a completely different side to the team that played against us at FNB. To be honest, they're a good side. They're a very good side, and they've got some good players. They've improved in that space. They create quite a lot more chances. I think on average now, as compared to last season, on average now it's 11 chances per game. The XG has improved slightly in the last 9 games that they've played this season to just around one big chance, like big chance, even though against Sundowns they had 0, but one big chance per game. They are a crossing team, but that is also because if you look at the profile of the strikers, apart from Dupree, they've got some big boys, and even Gonzalez, the new striker, is a big boy, and then of course to try to play to the strengths of players like that, you have to put in balls in the box, and so they are averaging about 11 crosses per game. And then, of course, I think it is also in relation to the profile of the midfield, how they sometimes have two screeners with a 10, or sometimes they have a 6. They have a 6.5, and then an 8, and sometimes that's where Castillo plays in that space, Yusuf Mart, and it will be very interesting how they integrate that space with Sitebe also involved, and with the new signing with Mtetwa. So yeah, a good team that's got a lot of very good players, and we have to be well prepared. But I'm sure they say the same thing about Sundowns. I think they say a good team, and they know that they've got to be very well prepared to play against us.
Coach, you are very much in demand. The amount of hands. I'm going to take only the last 2, and I'm prioritizing new hands, and Matlatsi hasn't asked yet, so let's start with him. Let me think about who's going to get the last one. Coach.
Morning, afternoon, sir. Afternoon.
Coach, I want to check with the transfer window closing tomorrow. Can just be frank with us, Coach. Have you guys made a call on Castor's revenue? And also, what is the update on Sagata? What's going on?
I would like to leave both to the club, and I say it because it's a week where I really want to focus only on the football and what happens with the preparations and the tactics and getting that right. So I would be lying to say to you I've got an update as to the latest with regards to both Gaston and Saavedra. What I know is on Saavedra, and he is in Bolivia. I had a nice video FaceTime call with him. Has nothing to do with Sundowns, but that was just a personal, human, brother to brother talk and just catching up. But to give you anything, I would not like to get into that space, and I'd like to leave that space to the football club.
Okay, last question I was going to give it to Karabo, but he says, are you sorted? I heard someone say it was your birthday, that's why I was choosing.
Oh, happy birthday. Yeah, may God bless you with many more.
Okay,
no, my prayer is that you may touch God's hand also.
Thank you, Coach.
Beautiful. No, but sincerely, happy birthday, and may God bless you with many more.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Mnyandu, can go ahead.
Yes. Coach.
How did I know that Davi will have the last question? I promise you, I said to myself, I actually know who the last question will go to. Age before beauty. I didn't say that.
Coach, you are a youth coach. You always remain a youth coach, and I think that from your time at Silver Stars, then Platinum Stars, there's someone that you came across and coaching against him. I don't know if GDL was there at that time, and I watched recently. I think before the DDC of Sundowns played, there were 5 products of sport excellence lining up. May his soul rest in peace, Rhulani Mokwena. we couldn't attend the inaugural semi-finals because of today. Just looking back, in a country that doesn't really appreciate youth coaches, how would you like to remember this child?
Yeah, so it's a somber way to end a press conference, and maybe I must actually apologize because part of my discussions with Shupi was that we would start by sincerely offering, on behalf of the football club, on behalf of the players and the technical team and the Mamelodi Sundowns family, including the supporters, to offer our sincere condolences to the bereaved, the Mabena family, and the loved ones. I was privileged enough that while I was still playing, I don't have very vivid memories of him as a football player, but I was lucky enough that I saw a picture with my uncle sharing a conversation with him on the football pitch. I then got exposed to the level of football player that he was. I can say to you I was not surprised, because I have also been privileged enough not only to just coach against him. As you mentioned, while I was at Platinum Stars and maybe even in the Sundowns Academy, we had so many encounters against School of Excellence that were of great interest. And to tell you the truth, I learned a lot from him, because I would have a lot of engagement